So when I asked that question, it made me look inside of myself, and it was one of those TSN turning points in my life. And I said, "But am I happy? Like, do I not want to be on my deathbed and say I did everything I could to find myself happiness?"
Hi, I'm Megan Kaptein, and welcome to the Trailblazers show. Today I have a special guest with me, Fedor. She's a motorcycle instructor here in Vancouver. She's an advocate for inclusion in the motorcycle community and started her own motorcycle school called HellaRider. Welcome to the show, Carol.
Thank you very much.
So glad to have you.
I'm happy to be here.
So I'd love to hear about the motorcycle school that you started. Can you tell me about that?
Basically, the initial start of it was kind of, hey, you know what? Let's try it. Let's give it a trial run and see how it goes. And it went fairly well in the beginning. And then from there, it just evolved, and it just kind of cemented itself in the role it is today. And I believe it all comes down to that every student learns differently. It doesn't matter, male, female, but ultimately, females, we will definitely learn differently. And that's what I've found in my experience so far. And that's pretty much in a nutshell how HellaRider was kind of born. So
I wish that you were teaching when I started riding quite a few years ago.
yeah.
So you were an instructor before starting HellaRider?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. How many years were you doing that?
I was teaching, I believe it was like 4 years. It was about 4 years.
Okay.
And yeah, 3 or 4 years, and then it's only been the last couple of years where we started the female program. Yeah.
So 2 years now, how many students would you say have gone through your program?
Oh my goodness, I don't even know. I don't even know.
That's a good sign.
I haven't been keeping track. Is it growing? Yes. I mean, the more people I meet, it brings confidence to myself in saying, hey, I'm on the right track. This is exactly where we should be, and this is what should be provided for the community. But it is still a small niche, and so, I mean, that's why I guess we're here today to talk about it and get the word out there that there is a platform for female riders for sure.
Do you have a personal philosophy when you teach, like a kind of approach or?
Yeah, because students are already intimidated, and so I shouldn't add to that fear in terms of them being nervous. I know they're already nervous. I can see it in their eyes. Their hands are shaking sometimes, but I know because I remember myself being in that position of being nervous, and you're operating a powerful machine. And yeah, so my philosophy is, honestly, I wouldn't call it a philosophy, but I talk to them the way I want to be talked to. There's no use of me yelling at them, ramming it into their brain to make them extra nervous. And I can get the same point across yelling, if I wanted to, as I would talking in a normal voice. I mean, there are days where, of course, I'm frustrated as well because am I doing this properly? Maybe the student's not understanding it, but I still need to keep that even keel level.
So you've been riding for how long? How many years?
I started riding in 1995, so I don't know how many years that is. It's been a while, yeah. Yeah, I can't, yeah. It's been an adventure for sure.
And how did you first discover motorcycles?
Well, growing up, I was a tomboy for sure, and I always knew, in some weird way, I always knew I wanted to be on a motorcycle. When I was a kid, you would never catch me off of my bicycle and, riding around the neighborhood. I would always pretend that it was a motorcycle, make a motorcycle sound, putting the card in the wheel and making that sound.
Oh, yeah.
And so I always knew that I was going to be riding a motorcycle one day. One really memorable experience was I was helping a friend put together her old CT70. It was a Honda CT70, I think. And when she fired it up, it was just the most loud noise, smoke billowing out of the exhaust, and just going ba 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 down like in the neighborhood. And I swear the windows were like vibrating and close to shattering. And I was like, oh wow, good job, like got it working. And she looked at me and she's like, want to take it for a spin? I was like, yes, like no hesitation. No gear whatsoever. It was the summertime, so I was probably in shorts. I got on that thing and only just like an idea of how to use clutch and gear shifting. Got on it. Down the street I went. Billow of smoke behind me. Scared, but thrilling. Right? It was just such an amazing feeling, and I knew it was like right there and then. I was like, this is what I want to do. Getting up to 1995, got my first motorcycle. It was a 95 Yamaha Virago. And back then, it was, testing isn't the same as it is now. It's basically, here's the book, ready for your test. We'll drive down the street here. We'll go here, here, and great, you passed. Back then, no, not a lot of female riders to ride with. So I had to ride with the guys, if I knew any guys. And that in itself was intimidating, learning how to ride with them, keeping up with them. And it wasn't until I moved to Vancouver in about 2000. There was a mishap with my driver's license where I had to renew my driver's license, and they didn't put my class 6 on it.
Oh no.
Yeah, so I had to redo everything, and I decided I'm going to take a course because I never ever took one. And I took a course with a school, and it was one of the best things that I ever could have done. Because when you are riding a motorcycle, in the very beginning, I'm sure everybody feels this. It's like, yeah, I got this, And it's like when you get to a school, you're, oh my God, I had no idea. I am so thankful that I took this class because you learn what not to do, like bad habits, the bad things that could ultimately happen if you do it wrong. And so ever since then, including wearing gear and such, I'm just a huge proponent of doing it right. Taking a class, wearing all the gear. And so, that's kind of how I got into it.
You recently went to the track. That was your first time in your whole riding career.
Yeah.
How was that?
It was definitely inspiring for sure. So we always tell our students, when you're learning how to ride a motorcycle, it doesn't end at the school. There's plenty of more things to challenge yourself with. And so in all my years of riding, I've never done track. I didn't feel like I needed it. And so I was convinced by a good friend of mine and colleague to give it a try. And I tried it for the first time this past year, and addicted is all I could say.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's a closed track, and so it's somewhat safer because you're not dealing with any other vehicles out there, maybe other riders, but it is a different feeling, different kind of rules to riding the track, but I highly recommend it. It's like, once you're riding, you kind of plateau a little bit and be like, okay, is this all there is to riding? And that's where I do recommend people getting out of their comfort zone, trying something completely different.
Yeah,
and it just resets your experience level, really, right? And I had a great time. I highly recommend it.
It's been on my list for a while. It is kind of a pricey activity, it hasn't been the top priority, but I definitely love to try it at some point. Maybe soon you'll be teaching on the track.
Oh, not yet. I mean, that's what I mean, right? Like when you take on a new adventure, I guess, it's, like I said, despite my 25 years of riding, going onto the track, I'm starting from down here. It's like, oh, I didn't know that we had to do this. I had no idea. Okay, what I learned at a school and what I learn out on the streets is a different animal on the track.
And it's probably good for you as a teacher to be a student again, just to kind of refresh what it's like to remember what it's like to be a student.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. And I make mistakes too. And just because I teach it, I mean, there are days where I'm just like, oh God, Carol. We make our mistakes, and we learn from them as well. So yeah, definitely.
So, what were you doing before you became a motorcycle instructor?
Directly before it, I was actually working for the city,
Okay.
and a couple of departments. I worked in animal control, and prior to that, I worked in parking enforcement, everybody's favorite. So yes, I do know where all the secret parking areas and spots are for motorcycles.
What made you decide to leave that to become a motorcycle instructor?
Well, one of the things that happened was that my sister got ill in 2017, and she had ovarian cancer. And so I took a leave of absence from the city to spend some quality time with her, which I'm so glad that I did. And I spent about 5 or 6 months with her. And, she eventually did pass away. And I think it was in December. She passed away of 2017. And, after she passed away, I had this moment. I was literally sitting on the couch at my mom's place and had this moment where I just wondered, and I said to myself, I wonder if my sister was ever happy. Like, was there a moment where she ever was like, yeah, like this is like, sometimes we have those experiences where we say, if I could die right now, I would be so happy. And so I just hoped that my sister had found some level of happiness in her life. And so when I asked that question, it made me look inside of myself. And it was one of those TSN turning points in my life. And I said, am I happy? Like, do I not want to be on my deathbed and say I did everything I could to find myself happiness? And immediately I knew when I asked myself that question that I wasn't. That was basically the catalyst to me leaving. And the good part about working at the city was that I met someone who bugged me and said, come work for me. And I want you to come work for me and teach motorcycling. He had asked me a bunch of times, and I was like, no, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. And the time came, and I called him up and I said, hey, all these years you've been bugging me to come work for you. I am ready. Let's do it. And so that's really ultimately how I got into it. And I filled up my motorcycle package with ICBC, and that was the day everything changed. And here I am now. Yeah, I think about it and I'm like, I don't know where I would be today if I didn't have that conversation with myself. I guess I could say, was it a conversation with myself or was it a conversation with my sister? But it changed my world, really. I mean, there are tough days because I'm just so exhausted, and but worth it. I don't think I've ever woken up yet, God, hope not, where I was like, I can't do this. And every day it's like, okay, let's go. And so it's been a super integral, important part of my life, and I'm just so glad that the stars aligned for it. So
I'm so glad too, because
yeah,
I think you really found your true calling as a motorcycle instructor.
yeah, I think so too.
Well, I'm so glad that you decided to pursue it. And if I can be so bold to say, I would imagine that Maria probably would have been as well.
I hope so. I do ask myself that, and yeah, no, I think she would be. She's always been, a huge supporter of me, and I think she would have been right in my corner on this one.
I bet she would have.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, Carol.
Yes, you're welcome.
So you grew up with a single mom.
Yes.
In Vancouver.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what your upbringing was like growing up in Vancouver?
Yeah, for sure. We emigrated from Vietnam in, I believe it was 1975. Initially we lived in the Philippines for a couple of years, and then we made the big trek over to Canada, and of all places, landed in Calgary. And yeah, I'm the youngest of four sisters and single mom, so it was an all-female. That could have been my all-female motorcycle group there. It was great. My mom, she let me do whatever I wanted. I was out till, dark playing with the with the boys and playing my sports, riding my bike and stuff like that. It's funny because people are always like, "Oh, you're the youngest child. You must have been spoiled." I'm like, "No, actually, no. It was actually the opposite." And because it was the opposite for me, I think that's where I really learned my independence at a really young age.
That's great that your mom gave you the freedom to be able to explore different things and try different things. I was curious about that.
Yeah.
I was curious how your experience would have been when, you told her you were going to be a motorcycle instructor, but it sounds like your family overall has been pretty supportive of your motorcycle journey.
Well, yeah, like I said, like growing up a tomboy, I mean, it was just not a far stretch for, me
Yeah.
doing, dangerous, I guess, things or things that my sisters wouldn't do, let's say. So I was always very into sports. I was the athlete in the family. My sisters were, the academic brains. Into fashion, stuff like things that not down my laneway at all. And so I think, you know, it was the opposite. Like my older sisters always got in trouble because they were the first to kind of do whatever the bad things, and then when I came along, I think maybe my mom was pretty immune to that stuff. It was like, oh, okay, yeah,
Fair.
well, let Carol be Carol, kind of thing. So yeah, I did have a fair bit of independence, which I'm quite thankful for sure. Yeah.
That's great. So you're pretty involved in the local community here. Aside from teaching, you're also involved in group rides and so on. Can you tell us a little bit about what the motorcycle community is like here in Vancouver?
Oh gosh, it has grown so much, and there's still little pockets within this community, and it is really a large community, but it's still small. Large being that you can find these little pockets and groups to ride with and such, but small in that you can meet really anyone and know kind of who they are, and make fast friends. And it's almost like, you talk about one person in another group and they'd be like, oh yeah, I know who that person is. I've ridden with that person. And the one thing that I love about the community and motorcycling is it doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter your background, doesn't matter where you come from, what you're doing or anything, and we just all come together. And I talk about this all the time, and it's just, to me, it's very awe-inspiring. And the communities that I do ride with, I've ridden with some co-ed, with some men, and then I've ridden with the ladies, strictly just the ladies as well. And I kind of bop around in different riding groups, people who are like the really fast ones and, kind of want to stretch their legs a little bit. And then there are groups that, just want to take in the scenery, and we're just here to enjoy, and then there are different kind of riders, long distance riders, people who, hey, let's just meet for coffee kind of riders. There's just so many little groups and pods that there is really no shortage of people to ride with, or groups or communities. Um, the the community in the Lower Mainland, I've just watched it grow and grow, and you get a sense of it with social media, and you see like all these new platforms popping up and new groups and oh gosh, like Facebook communities or Instagram communities, and it's fantastic, and it is just growing exponentially. So and it's growing uh, very much so in the female world, and I'm kind of glad to be a motorcyclist at this time because it's kind of like a revolution. So that's what's fantastic about it.
Yeah, I love how you describe that. I think that was one thing that really surprised and delighted me
Yeah.
about my motorcycle journey was just discovering the community element of it. And as you said, it really is thriving and it's growing.
Yeah.
And between the groups that are here in Vancouver and the social media groups, as you mentioned, there's just so many ways to connect with people. And it really is more than just like a hobby. It really is a lifestyle.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely is. You should see half my house is motorcycle stuff.
I can believe that. Yeah, I can believe
That's
that.
the lifestyle.
Have you had the opportunity to do any big trips or any travels at all on your motorcycle?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say big trips in the sense of like I've not ridden to California or across Canada or anything, just because I've been so busy. My summers are extremely busy that once in a while I'll get to trek out there. I did a ride last year actually to Nakusp. There was
Oh,
an
yeah.
event called Throttle West, and it was a women riding group where we all rode out our own time out to Nakusp, but I rode with four ladies that I know, and it was one of my most favorite rides.
That's
It
great.
was amazing. So as much as I can, yes, I try to get out there and ride. But my other favorite ride is the island. When COVID hit, there we couldn't go anywhere except locally, and that was the time I said, "Hey, oh my God, we our backyard is beautiful. I never really explored it since I was a kid." And so got on the motorcycle, and my wife and we just traveled the island, and it was breathtaking. I literally said, I don't understand why we pay so much money to go to a fly and flop destination when we have this in our backyard. I was
Mm.
like in awe. It was one of my most favorite trips, and it still is, for sure.
I totally agree with your description about riding in BC. It's just, I think it's pretty underrated, really. Like, we have
Yeah.
world-class riding. I love the island and the Kootenays, Nakusp area.
Hmm.
It's phenomenal there. Really just some of the nicest riding that I've ever done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any interest in going back to your birthplace, going to Vietnam, riding there?
You know what's so funny is we ask our students what kind of experience they have. Have they been on two wheels or anything? And some of them, they say, oh, yeah, I've ridden a scooter in Vietnam or Thailand. And I'm like, oh, then you don't need this course because it's like a survival guide. Like, you have to be, that's my perception, of course.
In Vietnam, I guess it probably depends on where you go, because if you're in more rural areas, then you have a different set of challenges where maybe you're dealing with things like farm animals and children running
Yeah,
into the
that's right.
streets versus traffic.
Definitely. I mean, if I had the opportunity, of course, I would probably do it. It's like a once in a lifetime shot. It's like let's do it. We're here. Let's do as the locals do and
Yeah.
just ride around.
But it sounds like BC is a great place to explore in the meantime if you're not ready to,
Absolutely,
to
like you
go to a
said.
third world country.
Like you said, we have some amazing roads out there and really unexplored roads.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, people just ride based on recommendations. Oh, you got to go here, you got to go here, but there's still little areas that I'm sure,
Yeah.
the road less traveled by. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, BC is huge, and there's just so much to explore. And if you start dabbling in off-road dual sport riding too, then that opens up a whole nother world of riding.
definitely, yeah.
Have you done any training in that area at all?
I haven't. I haven't had the opportunity, but one day.
Maybe this year. You did track
Maybe,
last
yeah,
year. Maybe
yeah.
this year you'll be getting in the dirt.
Yeah, I mean, that is something that I would definitely love to do, but also with a little bit of caution. I mean, when we ride our motorcycles, it's wide open spaces, roads, etc. But riding dirt track would be fine, but in the woods and stuff would be a little bit daunting.
That's fair.
There's so much to crash into.
That's true. Usually those objects aren't moving. It's usually you're the one that's moving.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, you know what? I'm open to it for sure, and I highly suggest it for everyone.
Yeah, I think as you said earlier, I mean, just that constant quest of learning and improving, it never ends.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think the more training that you can have, the better.
Definitely. Yes, for sure.
All right, so I just wanted to ask one more question.
Yes.
Do you have any words of advice for someone who wants to get started on their motorcycle journey? Do you recommend they follow your path?
No. The motorcycle journey is always different for everyone, and it can be, financially, let's talk about that. It's not a cheap sport. You've got to buy the motorcycle, you've got to buy the gear, and then the gear, and more gear, and more gear, and extra stuff like that, and courses, and Would I get them to follow my footsteps? Probably not. But my recommendation, as always, do it safely, do it to the level of your comfort. If you ever get into this position where you're taking a course and maybe you realize maybe it's not for you, then it's not for you. But I have students who are in a situation when I'm teaching them and they're like, I don't think this is for me, and they want to call it quits. And I say, you know what, it's totally up to you. But ask yourself, did you give it a fair shot? Is it just too scary for you? That's totally fine. Is it one of those bucket list items and you just want to go for it? I mean, I have students who are like, this is on my list. I am getting this done no matter what. But it's what's important to you, and yeah, that's my only recommendation is, take a course.
So don't do what you did.
Don't do what I did. Take a course. Do it right. Do it right, and that is the best recommendation I can give. Don't get your buddy to teach you, because everybody has bad habits. So that's my best one.
Well, as someone who's also been through a motorcycle course, I agree that it's a great approach to learning. My dad initially tried to teach me, and then it didn't go particularly well.
Yeah, for sure.
And then when I did the course, I was wondering why I just didn't do that right away.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree with your thoughts on that. Thanks for sharing. I think that's a great note to
you're very welcome.
off of. Thank you so much for being on the show, Carol. It was a pleasure to talk to you today.
Thank you.